Well, listen, how do you conduct your life in this world in such a way where you are involved in business, you got to make a living, but you also love the Lord Jesus Christ? How do you make that work? Well, today we're going to sit down with Lynsi Snyder, the CEO and president of In-N-Out Burger.
Real Life presents the Jack Hibbs podcast with intention and boldness to proclaim truth, equip the saints, and impact our culture. Today, if this podcast lifts you up and encourages you to live a more fulfilled life in Christ, then make sure you leave us one of those 5-star ratings. To us, that's like saying amen or yes. Then that rating will encourage others to listen. Now open your hearts to what God's Word has to say to you. Here is Jack Hibbs.
We are so excited about this special program today, and I think you will be too. If you have trafficked anywhere, frankly, originally in Southern California, but now beyond, in various states, you have come across, along the freeway, along the highways, In-N-Out Burger. It's a California icon, and we love it. It's been around for, some 75 years now coming up? And it really needs no introduction to you because it has stayed true to its vision. And today we have with us Lynsi Snyder. She is the CEO and president of In-N-Out Burger and a beloved icon as well. So we're going to be talking to Lynsi today about what God has done in her life and what's next for her life and for the great business of In-N-Out Burger. So Lynsi, it's awesome to have you here. We're so excited to have you. We have anticipated this. I see that you have a new book. We've heard about the book coming out. I'm going to hold it up. The first thing, because we all grew up on In-N-Out Burger here, I wanted to take a bite out of the book. There should probably be teeth marks right here in the graphics. It is excellent. And congratulations on the book.
Oh, thank you.
And we're going to find out more and more about it. But before we do that, it's my understanding that you became president of In-N-Out Burger 2010. So that's been a long time. Even though you're a young woman, that's been a long time.
Yeah.
So you inherited this amazing work of your family, and you were, in your early 20s, I think it was, something like that?
Yes, well, I was 17 when my dad died, and so from that time on, it was trustees, and when I was 18, I was already in the office, immersed in the business,
Yes.
So when I was 27 was when I became the president. So.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And so we know as the end user, and this is something that I'm dying to ask you, and we can back up and pick up on some things, but I want to get this out. In an age and in a time when so much in America, when it comes to the service industry, has waned, faded, frankly, many of it has just fallen apart. How is it that you guys literally not only kept your standards during COVID, when so many businesses compromised? I honestly mean this. Everywhere we went, there was a change in the product. You guys didn't change at all. Your staff was even more gracious. Your employees, which you have nearly 40,000 employees, they were amazing. And your product didn't skip a beat. How did you guys maintain that? How did you keep that strong?
Well, we have very high standards, and we don't compromise those standards and our values, and just sticking with what my grandparents started and continuing to do those things. And there's been temptations through the years, this is cheaper, this is easier to get, and we've just, said no. So, business as usual, somewhat. We had a lot of obstacles during those times, which made it tough to have the interaction that we like to have, in our service, because we are known for our customer service and the friendliness and the smiles. And so a time where you couldn't see the smiles was tough, and kind of hurt our atmosphere a little bit, because we say that the smiles are part of your uniform.
Yeah, I
love
it.
Lots of training. We do lots of training. We invest a lot of time in just really bringing our new hires up to speed with what In-N-Out's all about, and the culture and the family part and the quality, the cleanliness, the friendliness, and so there's a lot that goes into it. They work really hard, and I work really hard to keep it all intact.
That's true. And I've heard that from others as well. It's amazing. Here at the church I pastor, there's a lot of young people. And so it's really great to hear them say, I'm going to get a job at In-N-Out. That's how iconic you guys are. But beyond that, it's not just about the amazing experience and the taste and the quality. You guys have such high standards that that has resonated, where people, no matter what their experience is, they know what's good when they have it, whatever it is. It's like, so we have friends that come from out of the country, whatever it might be, and then one of the first things we do is introduce them to In-N-Out. That's just part of the baptism of Southern California culture. But always there's this level of quality and of commitment, and we've all spied on your staff when we're at the restaurant or driving through, where, half of, what am I telling you for? A good, maybe a quarter of your building corner is glass, so you can see the guys and gals making the incredible French fries and doing all the stuff they do, and no one's standing around. It's not like it's a union job or some government job. People are moving, and they're really making it happen. And I honestly, to me, that's amazing, because it's at every In-N-Out store, which are what, over 375 stores, I think?
390.
390 stores, and growing. See how fast they're growing? I read 375. Every store is the same experience, which uniformity, everybody knows in business, and you kind of want it even in production or in church work, is everyone needs to be treated the same. You guys pull it off. I mean, I know this sounds almost kind of crazy, but you don't think it's crazy, and that is there's actually some sort of anointing, graciousness from God upon this vision that your family started. And so why the book? What's with the book? Why did Lynsi Snyder think or be driven to write this beautiful book? What's inside here?
Well, it's really the In-N-Out story, my grandfather's vision and the partnership between him and my grandmother, and a little bit of their history. And they both came from very humble and somewhat sad beginnings. And I'm pretty sure my grandfather Harry's father told him he would never do anything great. And so, there's a lot of neat stories within the history for my family. And I think, we have such a following of customers and loyal customers. And there's been a lot of stuff that's gone out through, over time. And I just thought, wow, I'd love to be able to tell the In-N-Out story, the true In-N-Out story, bring people inside, and, and also, the timing, doing it when we're celebrating 75 years.
75 years, amazing. So let me ask you this. When it comes to the pressures, I would think, in business and you kind of alluded to it a moment ago, maybe compromise here, we can get these cheaper, so how about that? How do you maintain, you said you have these standards and everybody knows that, but how do you get people to stay true to those standards? Is there almost like a swearing in of an oath? Is it, it's remarkable to maintain. So how do you guarantee those standards?
It's only God. That's the only answer I could give you. It's Him and something He put inside of me to protect. I feel like I'm a very protective person, but there's just, I don't know, we have the Holy Spirit, we have a conscience, but there's just something that hits me when we come to certain decisions, and I say, no, we can't. And I know it's Him, so it's cool.
That is very true. You're a woman of convictions. You're uncompromising. It's for you to say, not me, but I do know enough about you from what we've talked about, that the bumps in life that have come your way, they could have destroyed, and those kinds of bumps do destroy people. And it's actually made you a better person, because our God is a redemptive God, and He turns things around. And so you're stronger for it. And what's amazing to me is that if anybody were to see you on the street, they would say, oh, there's a SoCal surf girl. They have no idea that you're business savvy. Again, you give all credit to God, which is why we're sitting here together right now. But God has given you a business savvy, vision. He has given you that lion heart, as it were, to defend. But your passions do not rise and fall on In-N-Out Burger. I mean this with all due respect. If Paul the Apostle preached the gospel to the world that he experienced, occasionally he built tents, right? He made tents as a source of income to keep the ministry going. I included, the world looks at you and they know from your story, she happens to be the heir of the In-N-Out Burger dynasty and all, but it's not what makes her heart beat. That you have incredible passions that I think the world is going to hear more about. But would you mind sharing some of those things? I know some of the things that we've talked about. Can you tell us what causes that heart to beat on the inside?
Yeah, you know, I think In-N-Out is for sure part of my ministry and part of my calling, but it's not, it doesn't define me. It's not my identity. And I think, you know, I feel completely called to speak truth, to stand up for what's right, for righteousness. And I know just in personal ministry, I feel like a little bit of the sheepdog, you know.
Yes.
I'm kind of the one biting people's ankles, so they love me one moment, they hate me another moment.
Yeah.
But you know, the rejection piece, I can't say I'm used to it. I don't know if anyone's ever fully used to it, but in ministry at least, I am familiar with it. You know, because you lose people when you speak truth sometimes to them. You know. And,
it's true, but you know, at the end of the day, you'd rather lay your head down on the pillow being true to the conviction, right? Rather than the compromise.
Because it's love. You know, it's love.
It really is love.
Love is the ultimate goal, and it is what makes, you know, my heart, my day, everything is just knowing that God's love saved me, God's love redeemed me, and, you know, His grace and love. So for me, I want to carry that to the world, and sometimes, you know, it's unpopular.
Well, it's unpopular because, you know, if you came presenting that grace and that love in some other name, nobody would really care. But the moment that Jesus is found out to be in your life, in your book, or for those of you who don't know, if you go to In-N-Out Burger, which I love this, and you look under the cup, through the wrapping, the French fry holder, whatever it might be,
The boat.
you're gonna, the boat. You're gonna find Bible verses that have been there. Was that originally? Was that with Harry? When did that come in? Was that with your uncle?
We've traced it down. We believe it was actually 1988 that my uncle started putting it on the packaging.
Really?
Yeah.
My goodness. So, and then you've added some Bible verses, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I've
Now,
added.
did you have to get like board approval or corporate? You just did it.
Yeah, I just do it.
I love it. You just did it.
Yeah.
And one of those is Isaiah 9:6, which talks about Jesus Christ in the Old Testament, about being the Savior of the world, the Messiah. The governments of the nations rest upon His shoulders. He's the Almighty God, the Counselor, the Wonderful One, right? So you're bold out there with your witness, and yet we know for a fact, so do you, that atheists go to In-N-Out Burger. Everybody, the product is so good that you just have to go. And I love how that's a reflection of God's goodness to your family. And your family has gone through its experiences, its highs and its lows. And for those, even though now you're not limited to Southern California, you're in like 5 or 7 states? 7 states now.
Soon 8.
More and more people are hearing about what makes In-N-Out Burger work. And so what about this? What would you say to someone today that is thinking, you know what, I've had fear, I've had others, I've had abuse define my life. I guess this is me. I guess it's just my plight in life. Almost kind of given up without giving up. What would you say to somebody who's just doesn't see a purpose to go on?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing I would tell them is that God's not finished with them and that He loves them. and that, I probably share a lot of my story, a lot of my failures or times where I felt, that there was no hope for me to do anything good with my life. And, just share that, there's absolute hope, and that, I believe sharing other testimonies, your own and others, just kind of charges people, and there's power in that. And so, it makes me very sad to encounter people like that, but honestly, they're everywhere. And so, us being faithful to have those conversations in the first place, and just taking the time. And, I send scriptures. Sometimes people that don't even really believe, I still send them scriptures.
Yeah,
and I almost act like they believe. And
that's a good word, because, when you treat unbelievers like believers, they have a tendency to become believers. Just treat them like a believer.
Yeah. Instead of it feeling like there's a division, I just kind of bring them.
I love that.
To like I'm acting like they know what I'm talking about.
I think that's the wisdom of God. I believe that as well. I teach that as well.
Yeah.
Have you, to your knowledge, have you ever heard of anyone at In-N-Out, throughout wherever, the empire, coming to Christ?
Oh, yes.
Really? Can you share something about that?
Well, I've had a few managers that I've led to the Lord, and there's been conversations with different people, whether it's a manager or divisional manager's wife sometimes. There's, I'm trying to think. I mean, just our VP team alone, we've all committed to some core values for our team as leaders. And so starting our meetings with prayer, and, we rotate who starts each one of our meetings, but whoever's last is the one that we build up. So we all go around the room and affirm them and say things we love about them. So we've incorporated faith. As of this year, I made prayer and us sending each other scriptures and just encouraging one another a thing. So even our VP team is actually really, really growing closer to the Lord. So
that's amazing. With what you just said, what if there's a business owner right now who's a believer, but he works, or he has a company, he created and established it different, and now he's wanting to get things more like In-N-Out, where he wants to introduce that kind of love that God can spread through the believer. What would you say to him or her? How do they start that when it was not part of their culture? What would you say to them as a corporate leader? This is how you could start to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the way that I started it was with humility, just sharing my mistakes, sharing my weaknesses. And then we started teaching servant leadership. We started teaching, the story of the shepherd. And, I think there's so many valuable lessons in the Bible that people can just, whether they're a believer or not, they can learn from.
Truth is true.
Right. And so, just sprinkling that stuff in, and then, being super open. I think being vulnerable is scary for people because, they think, oh, I'm going to be misjudged, or they're going to think I'm not strong if I share my weaknesses. And I tell them it's just the opposite. It takes strength to put that stuff out there because people are going to judge. So you either say, I don't care, or, you let that fear keep you from being free. And
well, isn't it true that people are actually, and maybe we are too, without knowing, constantly judging. We're constantly making assessments. It's just human nature.
Yeah.
But you're saying a powerful thing, because you mentioned, which is the key model of Jesus, and that is servant leadership. I mean, most of the world has no idea. What do you mean talking about servant leadership? What is that? But it's so leading by example that you're willing to do the job first. I know that you started out as an associate. And that's doing the work first. And so in life, if you see a leader, I mean, Jesus himself modeled it so perfectly when at the end of his earthly ministry, just before he goes to the cross, you would think that that's the time to flex And what does he do? He gets on his knees and he washes the disciples' feet. And there's no greater picture than that being lived out. Listen, Lynsi, with your permission, can you share with us some of the other things that you're involved in? There's a lot of work that you do that the world's not aware of. And I don't know, maybe you want the world to not be aware of it, but you do not sit idle. You are out there on the edge, especially now, with the danger of child abduction going on and kidnapping and trafficking. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, Slave to Nothing is one of our foundations that we've started, nonprofit that we've started, and targeting to fight both substance abuse and human trafficking. And there's just, there's too much of it out there, you know, from illegal drugs to all the prescription drugs to things they're now making legal. You know, it's just, and alcohol, you know, addiction is just terrible, and it tears families apart, it kills people, it's very destructive. And so, you know, I experienced that losing my father young. My husband experienced that losing his younger brother at age 23. So for us, you know, we're all in, you know, that fight to make a difference. And with the human trafficking piece, I've shared this before, but it's something God literally dropped on my lap. Like, I did not know and did not think, oh, this is something I'm gonna be involved in. It was just when we were starting to form the foundation, it was like, you're gonna fight this too. Wow. Okay. So, you know, we had some advice that, oh, you need to focus on one cause. You can't have two. And I'm like, well, God says two, so we're doing two.
You made the number 2 and 3. Yeah.
So, yeah, but we're, you know, helping hundreds of different boots on the ground organizations that are fighting both of these causes. And, you know, In-N-Out puts the money forward for all of our events. So, you know, when people are donating, that money is going directly to help and save lives.
That's amazing. I know. And is this a certain time of the year? To be honest with you, I didn't pay attention. But when you pull up, for those of you who don't know, In-N-Out Burger is so dynamic and prolific that you get served before you ever get to the building, because you guys pretty much take over parking lots where the associate is out there taking the orders, right? And I remember just waiting in line, pulling up, which, if I remember right, In-N-Out was California's first drive-through restaurant or diner like that, which is historic. What, 1948?
Yeah.
But you had stanchions or signs saying something about human trafficking, how you can help, how you can participate in human traffic to stop the human trafficking thing. So it's very, very public. It's very, very part of the extended love and commitment that In-N-Out has beyond just serving up a great product. What can Lynsi tell us about other passions? I mean, if you can't think of any, I know some of yours, and I will bring them up because I share a few of those things. But who's Lynsi outside the corporate boardroom in the restaurant business? Who is?
Well, I think there's a lot. There's a lot of different things. I feel like I'm 41, but I feel like I'm a lot. I have like an old soul. I've just done a lot, you know. But are we talking hobbies, ministry?
I'm talking about some of the amazing passions you have for speed, for cars.
Okay, that's what I thought.
There's some guys behind these cameras that are major car guys also. Where did that come from? I mean, you like driving fast, and you've got some fast toys.
Yeah, my dad loved drag racing. He built cars when he was young, and his dad, my grandfather, actually was a part owner of the original Irwindale Speedway way back when. So my dad was, you know, super young, testing his cars there and racing, and you know, so that love was just there for me from the beginning, because I would watch my dad work on his cars, and he'd take me for a ride when he was done. And, you know, it was just going to Pomona to the drag races when I was little. And, you know, there's something about it. You either have it or you don't, you know, and I just have always loved it. And I didn't get to actually start racing until after he passed away. So there's also a special thing there for me when I race, you know, just kind of connecting to my dad.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I do love drag racing. I'm also in a band with my husband.
The
48 special.
The 48 special.
Yeah, you get the 48 now. Yeah.
Explain that, 1948.
Yeah.
Explain, seriously, you have the time to be in a band.
I make the time. So it's, you know, there are so many things. I'm spread so thin, and I wouldn't have it any other way, because I know time is short, and, you know, as long as my priorities are in the right order, and I know when to pull back from one thing or the other, then, you know. But the band is all in and out associates, so it's, you know, family on top of family. And we perform mostly company events. We've done something public before, and, you know, might do something in the future, but, you know, we all work full time, so it's kind of hard to pull off other shows. But we're performing at our 75th, which is coming up.
Yeah, when is that coming up? And I heard a rumor that it's actually going to be at the Pomona, Los Angeles, where they host the...
It's now the In-N-Out Burger Pomona Drag Strip.
So, but, okay.
Yeah.
But don't they hold the Winter Nationals there?
Yeah.
The iconic Winter Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are going to host your, what is it, a picnic, gala?
Festival.
A festival.
Yeah, there'll be bands kind of through the decades on a couple different stages.
Gosh.
Yeah, surf bands, Motown, 80s.
From all
70s.
the In-N-Out era.
Yes, and then rides, food, of course, In-N-Out.
Yeah.
Drag racing, car show, and then in the evening, our Rock to Freedom event, which we hold in October each year, has been each year. It's been an event to fight substance abuse is October, and then January is the human trafficking month. So we're like, let's just throw this into this event. So the Rock to Freedom will be in the evening at the festival.
Listen, we need to start wrapping this up, but is there anything that can people help with this? Because it's such a labor of love. It's beyond the celebration of the In-N-Out family. It's to reach others that are truly in bondage.
Yeah.
What can somebody do on the other end of this lens? What can they do?
Well, you know, the awareness is one piece, and then just if someone is looking for, you know, somewhere to give back, you know, jumping in one of these fights, you know, you can go to slavetonothing.org.
Slave to Nothing, the number two?
The number 2, yeah.
Slave, the number 2, nothings. I love that. Slavetonothing.org.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
then there's, you know, there's a lot you can learn there, and we work with amazing organizations, so we can connect people to others if there's other outreach things they want to do.
Amazing.
We also have a community engagement team.
Where would this is going to air on various platforms, and so where would either an entrepreneur or a business owner or someone, how do they find out more, or do they about business and connecting? And I want to know the In-N-Out model or whatever. Is there a place for them to contact leadership at In-N-Out or to find out, you know?
Not exactly, but I mean, people organically it kind of happens. Sometimes people
could
send
read
an
the
email.
book.
They could read the book. Yeah, that's a great option.
Yeah, that's right. I think you'd appreciate that. We'd all appreciate that. Is there, last question I hope comes this way perhaps. Is there anything that I should have asked Lynsi Snyder before we wrap this up?
Well, I'd love to just share, my husband and I have a ministry called Army of Love, and that is another big piece of my heart, and it's just, you know, equipping the saints for the work of ministry. It's really a discipleship program that's online, and it's not pulling anyone away from their churches. They can stay in their churches if they want to go deeper and kind of pursue that on their own. You know, it's a way to launch them further into their walk, and then they can take that anywhere, where their ministry is. And we also have the opportunity for them to be mentors and mentor others. And then as we're building this army up, we're wanting to deploy. Right now we have little, people going out and helping others and connecting and making those connections, honestly, across the States and also in Africa and some other countries. But my goal is to build up a huge army of believers, whether they're in churches over here or over there. That's why we kind of call it the church with no walls, because it's just bringing the body of Christ together. And so when unbelievers or believers are asking for help, then we can be there for them. And my heart is big for people that are in leadership, because I understand that leaders do not want to necessarily show their weaknesses because they're afraid of people not following them or trusting them. So, and I think there's a lot of Christian leaders that kind of silently suffer. And so my heart is definitely there for them and wanting to help.
Very, very true. Armyoflove.org.com. Armyoflove.com. In fact, let me put this plug in closing. So today in the world around us, it's certainly true in America that so many churches have gotten either woke or weak, but the saints are not just being fed like they should be fed. And if you are anywhere and your church is not meeting that discipleship need in your life, if you're not growing as a believer, then you're stagnant and you don't want to experience that. You want to grow deeper with Jesus every day. And so I think that armyoflove.com would be a great vitamin boost. It could be your spiritual meat and potatoes. Even if you go to a weak church, you could be somewhere in the nation, you go to a mediocre church, but listen, you could supplement your diet by In-N-Out Burger and discipleship. I mean, that is a lost calling today, which should never be. It's our number one thing. Jesus said, "Go ye therefore into all the world and make disciples." He didn't even say evangelize. He said make disciples. Once you tell people about Jesus, the next step for the rest of their lives is discipleship. And so Sean, Lynsi's husband, and Lynsi and family, and the entire family at In-N-Out Burger gives you an incredible experience. And it was with great anticipation and an excitement that we had you here today. And your name, your lineage, what you guys have achieved, and what you're doing since 2010, the company has just exploded under your leadership. And I just love that. So we want to see more and more of that. So Lynsi Snyder, it's been an honor to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Great seeing you. God bless you. Listen, friends, always stay tuned to the Real Life Network, where we are committed to causing and calling you to experience a deeper walk with Jesus Christ. So until next time when we get together, stand with Jesus, stand in the Word of God, follow Him wherever He goes. You'll never fail. And He loves you. And He died on the cross for you. And He rose again from the dead, all for you. Until next time, God bless you.
This Jack Hibbs podcast, as well as all the broadcast outreach opportunities, are listener supported. Will you consider partnering with us through a special gift? Go to jackhibbs.com to learn more and stay connected.